Last episode, we witnessed massive Roman legions arrive. Emperor Claudius launched a full-scale imperial invasion. The thriving city of Londinium was built. Cruel Roman administrators deeply mistreated the local populations. A fierce tribal rebellion shook the island. The legendary Queen Boudicca swore total vengeance. Her massive horde burned cities to ash. The disciplined legions held their ground firmly. Boudicca took poison to escape public humiliation. The rebellion was crushed with brutal force. Imperial rule tightened across the conquered landscape. Pax Romana was established through sheer military power. Cities were rebuilt with grand stone monuments. But empires do not stay strong forever. New dangers were looming on the far horizons. We're doing a comprehensive series on the grand history of Britain, covering everything from mud villages to fractured kingdoms. New episodes will drop every single week. So make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. For generations after the rebellion, the Roman Empire worked tirelessly to secure its northernmost frontier on the island. The wild and rugged northern territories were inhabited by fierce, unconquered tribes known to the Romans as the Picts. These northern warriors launched constant, devastating raids against the civilized towns and wealthy farmsteads of the south. In the year 122 AD, the ambitious Emperor Hadrian traveled to Britain to inspect the frontier personally. He decided that the empire needed a permanent, physical barrier to separate the civilized Romans from the northern barbarians. Thousands of imperial soldiers were ordered to construct a massive stone wall stretching completely from coast to coast. The monumental structure spanned 80 Roman miles across treacherous crags, deep valleys, and rolling green hillsides. It stood up to 15 feet high and was reinforced by a massive protective ditch dug directly into the earth fronting it. Every single Roman mile along the wall featured a fortified gatehouse known to historians today as a mile castle. Between these mile castles, smaller stone towers were built to allow sentries to keep a constant, watchful eye on the landscape. Major stone forts, housing hundreds of heavily armed auxiliary soldiers, were strategically placed at regular intervals along the wall. These military outposts featured busy barracks, large granaries, public bathhouses, and even temples dedicated to the Roman gods. Vibrant civilian settlements quickly emerged just outside the fort walls to provide goods and entertainment to the lonely soldiers. Merchants, tavern owners, and soldiers' families turned these isolated military outposts into bustling, multicultural frontier communities. Life on the northern edge of the civilized world was a strange mix of strict military routine and daily cross-border trade. Soldiers from distant lands like Spain, Gaul, and Syria stood guard on the chilly, wind-swept stone ramparts of Britain. They patrolled the high walkways in freezing winter weather, constantly scanning the bleak northern horizon for any sign of trouble. The troops used iron weapons, wore heavy wool cloaks, and kept warm by burning coal in the small hearths of their towers. They maintained a rigorous schedule of drills, patrols, and gear inspections to ensure constant readiness for any surprise attack. Local traders often approached the guarded gates to sell fresh meat, hides, and local ale to the hungry garrison soldiers. This interaction created a unique frontier economy where different cultures slowly merged together along the stone barrier. Many soldiers eventually retired in the shadow of the wall, marrying local women and settling down in the border towns. The wall was not just a defensive barrier, but also a highly controlled gate system for regulating trade and migration. Customs officials collected taxes on goods passing through the heavily guarded portals from the unconquered northern lands. This flow of commerce helped maintain a fragile peace with some of the closer tribes who benefited from Roman trade. For nearly 3 centuries, Hadrian's wall stood as a powerful, towering symbol of total Roman dominance and architectural ingenuity. It showed the ultimate power of Rome, demonstrating that the empire could physically carve its border into the very earth. If you're enjoying this historical journey so far, please take a quick moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. However, As the 4th century drew to a close, the vast Roman Empire began to crumble under its own immense weight. Brutal civil wars, economic collapse, and massive barbarian invasions deeply fractured the core of the continental empire. The distant government in Rome found it increasingly difficult to pay, supply, and maintain the legions stationed in Britain. Fewer ships arrived from the continent, causing a severe shortage of essential coins, weapons, and manufactured goods on the island. Soldiers along the Great Northern Wall went completely unpaid for months, leading to widespread mutiny and low morale. Many troops simply abandoned their remote posts to look for food or farm the land just to survive the harsh winters. The strict discipline that had characterized the legendary Roman legions slowly dissolved into desperate self-preservation. Meanwhile, aggressive new maritime raiders from continental Europe began attacking the poorly defended eastern and southern coastlines. Saxon pirates sailed across the North Sea in long wooden boats to plunder defenseless coastal villages and exposed villas. The internal stability of the province completely dissolved as rival Roman generals in Britain fought each other for imperial power. Ambitious commanders repeatedly withdrew thousands of elite troops from the island to fight their personal wars on the continent. These constant troop depletions left the civilian population of Britain incredibly vulnerable to both internal and external threats. The historic turning point arrived in the chaotic year of 410 AD when the Western Roman Empire faced total ruin. Visigoth armies swept through Italy and successfully besieged the ancient capital city of Rome itself, shocking the entire world. The desperate British citizens sent frantic letters to the emperor, begging for immediate military help to defend their homes. Emperor Honorius sent a historic, heartbreaking reply stating that the communities of Britain had to look to their own defenses. With those few definitive words, the official Roman administration of the island was brought to a sudden, permanent end. The last remaining organized Roman troops marched down the stone roads toward the southern ports and boarded their ships. They sailed away across the Gray Sea, leaving the civilian population entirely behind to face the dark unknown alone. The sophisticated infrastructure that had sustained the complex society for 4 centuries began to rapidly fall apart. The great stone villas were slowly abandoned as people could no longer afford the expensive wood needed for central heating. The complex system of Roman courts, imperial laws, and coin-based economies collapsed almost overnight into complete irrelevance. Large public bathhouses and grand aqueducts fell into deep disrepair without engineered maintenance and municipal funding. The vast trade networks that connected the small island to the global wealth of the Mediterranean completely vanished. Londinium, once a bustling international metropolis of tens of thousands of people, was slowly reduced to a ghost town. People fled the vulnerable, unprotected urban centers to seek safety in small, isolated farming communities inland. The highly sophisticated Romanized elite were suddenly forced to learn how to fight to protect their own families. Without a central government or a standing professional army, the island fragmented into a dozen small, competing territories. Local warlords and tribal chieftains grabbed whatever power they could, fighting each other for control of the remaining resources. They constructed crude wooden fortifications inside the ruins of grand Roman amphitheaters and majestic public forums. The knowledge of complex stone masonry, advanced engineering, and pottery making was gradually lost over generations. Fields that had once produced surplus grain for the Roman Empire were now farmed just to provide basic, local survival. The ancient hill forts that had been abandoned centuries ago during the Celtic era were quickly reoccupied and refortified. Hadrian's Wall, once an unbreakable barrier of an empire, stood completely silent and unguarded against the northern tribes. The Picts poured over the stone wall with absolute impunity, raiding deep into the defenseless territories of the south. They burned down the abandoned frontier forts and plundered the civilian settlements that had once thrived in their shadow. A long, dark age of deep chaos, extreme poverty, and constant warfare enveloped the entire fractured landscape. The people of Britain looked out at the empty seas, terrified of what new dangers would arrive next on their shores. They realized that the comfort, safety, and stability of the Roman world was gone and would never return to their land. Next week on our channel, the true transformation of the island begins as we witness the coming of the Saxons. We will follow the dramatic arrival of fierce Germanic tribes who crossed the sea in search of fertile new lands. Get ready to see the total collapse of the old Romano-British world and the violent creation of the fractured heptarchy. You will discover how 7 distinct tribal kingdoms emerge from the ashes of the fallen Roman province. If you enjoyed this animated journey through walls and fallen empires, hit that like button right now to show your support. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, Stickman Chronicles, so you are first in line when the next episode drops. Thank you for watching, keep exploring the past, and we will see you right here next week for the ultimate showdown.